Sometimes you walk through life alone, wondering if anyone understands what you are going through, hoping someone will listen and offer a word to make your day. The Church of God of Prophecy offers unconditional love and support, regardless of what you are going through. Visit cogop.ca for a location near you. The Church of God of Prophecy, developing authentic disciples of Christ.
To another segment of Let's Talk. I'm your host, Woodroe Thompson. My guest today is the lead pastor of Destiny Gospel Center, and he's also a district overseer for the Markham and Scarborough District of Churches. He's the chairperson for the Canadian Black Clergies and Allies. He's also a member of the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council. My guest is Bishop Ransford Jones. Welcome to Let's Talk, Bishop.
Thank you, Bishop. I am delighted and happy to be here with you.
Yes. How are you doing?
I am doing fine. How are you coping during the COVID-19 situation here?
Well, we're doing well. As you notice, we have entered another provincial stay-at-home order. How are you and your family navigating your way through this?
Well, thank God, we're navigating through it all right. We're so grateful that my family is well. That is the bottom line, the key thing.
Right. Now, as a lead pastor of Destiny Gospel Center, what are some of the things that you're doing to keep in touch with your congregation during these difficult times? Pastors are having to become creative, thinking of creative ways to minister and keep in touch with the congregation. What are some of the things you're doing?
Exactly. That is such a key, pivotal question, because we got to be really innovative in this time.
Right.
In fact, we got to learn to become really adaptable to the modern way of doing church, and that is virtual. Right. I have been doing church virtual since last year. We have not been back in the building as yet. So hence, we have to dig deep in our creativity, seeking the Lord, to give us fresh ideas and new ways how to do things. So virtual church has become the real norm these days. So we have to be doing new programs. I have, developed different programming. Morning time, we have a program called Morning Musing, where we have a devotion and a time that we go into the Word with the church. We have a daytime prayer session, 12:30 every day. We have members. We are praying and just seeking the Lord during this time. Thursday night, we also have another program called Voice of Destiny, where we just come for a time of reflection and prayer. That also right. With our regular Wednesday night Bible study, our Sunday service, and Friday night we have our youth service. So we try to keep ourselves really occupied purposefully, not just
right.
occupied just to occupy space, but we got to bring programming so that our people can be encouraged because people get weary in this virtual space. So
Right.
we got to be innovative in our thinking and the way how we do things.
It seems like ministry keeps us very busy during this time, doesn't it?
Indeed, Bishop. Yes.
Yeah. Now, on January 30th of this year, there was a launch of a new initiative called the Canadian Black Clergy and Allies. What was the
Yes.
vision behind this new initiative?
Yes. The Canadian Black Clergy and Allies was conceptualized out of the idea of last year's incident that all the world have come to know. It has been pivoted with the killing of George Floyd in the United States. And
Right.
that, I think, hit a nerves for people globally.
Right.
Not just black people, but people right across the world. People are upset about that kind of imagery that they saw on the television of this
Right.
police officer kneeling on the neck of George Floyd and literally murdering him right there. So there are many voices that came out of that experience, and we thought that the church should have a very positive voice in that dialogue.
Right.
Hence, we can galvanize some of our more prominent church leaders, especially in the GTA here. And
Right.
we thought that we would give a voice, a reasonable, righteous voice in that discourse. And
Right.
hence, we have brought a group of clergies together and allies so we can work together to give that voice to our community.
Okay. Good. Did you wrestle with the name? Why the name Canadian Black Clergies and Allies?
Yes, we have wrestled and morphed and prayed about it. We have had some great discussions about the naming of it, examining the pros and the cons of it. But we believe that because the house that was on fire
Right.
was the house of the black folks. Amen. Our
Right.
house was on fire. So
Right.
we want them to understand that because our house is on fire, we are looking for our people to come together. If others are not helping us out that fire, we got to find a way to come together to out that fire, so to speak. And
Right.
saying that we got to come together as one community, one voice, along with some allies. It's not just us by ourselves. We're looking for like-minded people who want to see the scourge of racism in society, but especially anti-black racism. We want to see that kind of scourge, go away from society. We have a lot of work
Right.
to do, but we believe that it is possible.
So, Bishop, you would say then that this is not just limited to Black clergies.
No, absolutely not. We want our allies, our friends, our associates who are out there. We want you to come alongside with us and join along with us so we can work together to ensure that this scourge goes away from us. Because it does not only affect our community per se.
Correct. Right.
It will affect the other parts of society. So
Right.
society has got to come together to find a solution for this kind of a scourge that is out there.
Right. So, what are some of the initiatives that CBCA is working on?
Yes, our mission and vision is pretty clear. Our vision is that we want to create an environment of hope, equity, and prosperity for our people.
Right.
And our vision is really to see the dismantling of the infrastructure that has guarded that kind of racism in society. There's an infrastructure that this whole concept is built upon.
Right.
And it has affected our people for the last 400-500 years or so. And some people don't
Wow.
like for us to go back into history,
Right.
but we cannot discard history. History tells us what happened in the past. And
Right.
even as we live in a modern contemporary society today, we see so much of the same kind of racism that still prevail in society, and there's an infrastructure that facilitates that. And even if we look and listen, especially in the heat of the discussion during last year and beyond, we see where even the government have identified certain areas to know that even within the government and some part of society, we see that this kind of infrastructure still prevail even in the police force. Those who are sworn to protect us. There's an infrastructure that facilitates that. And we want to see this kind of infrastructure be absolutely dismantled, so everybody can have a fair and equitable society to live in as people.
Now, you just mentioned that racism has been identified even by the government. And some people in Canada will point to the US and say, well, it's evident that racism is something that they have to deal with in the US, but not in Canada. I've heard people say that. Why do you think some people still discount the fact that there's racism right here in this country?
Yeah, some people, that's a fallacy. Some people will have that kind of understanding, but until you have sat or walked in the place of a Black person who have been discriminated against, who have been prejudiced against, who have been biased against, and who have been brutally affected even by the police system, you can make that false assumption. But until you have walked in our shoes, you might have that perception, but it is a wrong perception, because many of these things have been identified even at every levels of government, from the Prime Minister come right down, who realize that even RCMP, the highest police force in the country, that there is a great element of systemic racism that still prevail in those systems. And these are some of the things that we want to ensure that they are dismantled, to give everybody a level playing field, and so that our people can have justice and they can prosper and live in a society that is just and equitable.
Now, I know we use the phrase systemic racism. We talk about, looking at the police force. There are people who talk about dismantling the police force. Of course, we also have Black Lives Matter, that is a movement, or several movements, actually. I'm understanding now it's not just one movement. But what do we mean when we mention the word systemic racism? What do we mean by that?
Yes, as I said, that it is that infrastructure that supports, perpetrate, and facilitate these kind of prejudices, biases, discriminations against different groupings of people, not only Black people, indigenous people, and we and the new thing that just came about the Asian discrimination because of the COVID-19. So it's not just one group, but we know that historically no group has been enslaved like the Black race, and because of that, there is a system that promotes that and perpetrates that. Slavery might have been abolished, but there's still the residue of of these systemic biases that still prevail in society, whether you are in the government, in the private sector, even in some churches. Even in some churches. Some churches
that is
still
sad.
have these kind of systemic structure that they work with, and it is sad. It is ungodly, and these things must be dismantled in society.
Well, Bishop Jones, we're going to continue the conversation. We're just going to take a quick break. Please stay with us. We'll be right back after this break.
Thank you.
Sometimes you walk through life alone, wondering if anyone understands what you are going through, hoping someone will listen and offer a word to make your day. The Church of God of Prophecy offers unconditional love and support, regardless of what you are going through. Visit cogop.ca for a location near you. The Church of God of Prophecy, developing authentic disciples of Christ.
On the Let's Talk television program, we share solutions to real-life problems with real people, showing how faith guides everyone through the storms of life. We talk about tough issues that affect all generations. Our conversations help you learn, grow, and lead. Help us continue with this great work by partnering with us today. Call 905-625-1278, extension 233, or visit letstalkca.org. We look forward to your partnership with us to change lives. Let's Talk, revealing the heart of Christ through engaging media conversations.
Welcome back to Let's Talk. I'm your host, Woodroe Thompson, and I'm speaking with Bishop Ransford Jones, who is the chairperson for the Canadian Black Clergies and Allies. And we're having a fascinating discussion about systemic racism, and the Canadian Black Clergies and Allies are looking at different ways in which they can approach this problem that we have had for many years, and that has impacted various companies. Now, Bishop Jones, before we went to the break, I mentioned during this time we hear a lot of talk about this defunding the police. We hear a lot about Black Lives Matter. Is it part of Cbca initiative to talk about dismantling the police force, or to join with Black Lives Matter?
The police force is a very important integral part of society's development. We cannot do without security. We cannot do without the police.
Right.
We are not about defunding the police. However, there could be the reallocation of funding, maybe from some part of the police budget, that will be able to be transferred into the community, so we can have community organizations, especially the marginalized communities, and which are out there, and we would hope that there would be a great community police dialogue and investment, so that there could be a real bridge with the police and our community, because there's been acrimony, there's been an antagonistic relationship over time, and this has been facilitated and breathed by some aspects. I'm not saying all aspects of the police. They are great police out there. I have friends who are great police officers. They leave their house in the morning to do a good job, to ensure that we are safe and secure in the city. But there is an element of them, because of how the system is set up, and some of them have implicit and explicit biases against our community. And those are the ones that we have to deal with. But in terms of defunding or abolishing the police, we are not supporting that idea. we want to work with the police to build great bridges, so that we can have cooperation and collaboration to ensure that our cities, our streets are safe, and that our community work together with the police.
Right. No, I know that in the Canadian Black Clergies and Allies, you have some pillars, some things that you are strategic in working at. What are some of those pillars?
Yes, we're looking at a few initiatives that we want to ensure that these things are done. And we believe that if they're done, we're looking for three things when we implement some of these things, or all of them. We're looking to see the transformation of society. That society is transformed in terms of dismantling anti-Black racism, creating equitable environment for all peoples, and ensuring that certain kind of biases and prejudices, if and when they rear their ugly heads, they are dealt with immediately, so that they don't infest society anymore. We also want to see the reformation of our own communities. We have problem in our own community.
We do.
There are issues that we have to deal with in our community, even the aspect of gun violence and certain things within our own community. And we know that we have some bad eggs in our community that we, as a people, as a church, have to work together to ensure that those kind of things are also dealt with. And we also want to see reconciliation among our people groups, that we can live together in harmony and unity, and live in a just society where everybody feel free to live and to express themselves and to just have a great society. But some of the things that we are focusing on, as we call them, some of our initiatives, we want to see reformation in these areas, but we also want to help to be a great part of the solution.
Right.
We just want to come and have a name blaming kind of thing. We want to bring tangible strategic solutions to ensure that some of these things are addressed. We want to see a better educational system, and
Right.
we are working with educators. We want to see our people work in areas where they have political leadership.
Right.
For example, even our province here that we live, we are the most multicultural place.
Right.
Even in the government, we don't even have blackface in this government. So we want to see our people rise
Right.
to the level of leadership where the power brokers are, where they can present our ideas so that everyone can understand our perspective also.
Right.
We also looking at economic development. We believe that where there's that disparity, where there's an element of poverty, then those things breathe other negative things. So we want to
Right.
see our society becomes economically viable in that, and we have some things that we're working on with different stakeholders and different people. We also want to reach the grassroots people in terms of how the church is going to affect change from the grassroots level. We have two intervention programs right now. We are partnering with Dr. Pat Francis, implementing Acorn to Oak program for young
Right.
people, especially those who might have had minor infractions with the law. Instead of they
Right.
going to jail and tarnish themselves, we send them to a church in the program where they can get help, get rehabilitation, and come back into society, and in spite of what their infringement was. We also have another program, even that's what your son is doing, and we also want to work along with him to implement that
Skills for
program.
life.
That's more,
Yes.
yeah, Skills for Life. That's more proactive
Yeah.
program.
Right.
Because we believe that once that program is implemented, and our young people especially learn those new skills of how to navigate their way through society, and how to be more civic minded, and
Right.
learn new skills, I believe that will also help us along the journey.
Well, Bishop Jones, you and I are pastors, and I can just hear some folks watching and listening to us, and they would say, you guys are called to preach the gospel. Why are you deviating? And they would seem to want to tell us we don't have a biblical mandate to take on systemic anti-Black racism. What would be your response to them?
Yes, some people don't believe that the church should involve in these kind of social issues, but you can find a more radical preacher than Jesus, and he said that I have come to heal the brokenhearted, to give back sight to
Right.
the blind, set at liberty them that are bruised. Our
Right.
society has been so bruised over the last little while that
Right.
we who are preachers of the gospel must help to bring healing to people, not only
Yes.
spiritual healing, but
Amen.
Jesus said that I came that you might have life and have it more
Yes.
abundantly. So Jesus was concerned about the life that we live here and now, but he
Right.
also gives us eternal life in the future.
Right.
But he was very much concerned about the life that we live now. And wherever there is injustice for any people group at all, I believe that the church must have a voice to correct those injustices.
Right.
If Martin Luther King Jr. did not stand up against injustice, women wouldn't have this platform today to even be on.
That's true.
Amen?
Yeah.
And so
That's true.
we can take a look and examine that great man, how he literally gave his life to ensure that there was change in society, in the social structure, and to ensure that these what you call them atrocities and sinful things,
Right.
inhumane They
Yeah.
are against the vein of Christianity, and he stood up for that. And we in this modern contemporary society, I believe that this burden of responsibility has been trusted upon us, and we cannot just be insulated in the four corners of our churches and say that let
Right.
somebody else deal with that problem. No, I
Right.
believe that the church must be a voice crying out in the wilderness, crying out in the streets, crying out in society, giving a reasonable and righteous perspective and how we can help to bring solution to these issues which are out there.
Yeah. So, Bishop, how can churches uh, be practical in getting involved in CBCA? What are some of the
Yes,
practical things we can do?
yes. First of all, you can visit our website at
Right.
cbcablack2020.ca,
Right.
and we want as many pastors and believers to be a part of this movement. It
Right.
is a movement that is there to work along with churches and groups. We have many allies who have come alongside us. They want to work with us. We have community groups from different cultures, from
Right.
different parts of society, so that let's work together to ensure that we have a just and equitable society,
Right.
and when whatever these issues are, we can work together to find tangible solutions to ensure that there is justice, there is equity within society, and
Right.
we want to work with the government, we want to work with the police, we want to work with all stakeholders uh, so that we can find these solutions, so we can live together harmoniously as a people.
Right. Now, what can some of our viewers do? Not only the church, but viewers, folks who are just
Yes.
watching and say, "This sounds interesting." How can they support CBCA?
Oh yes, as I said, the first thing, like they can go to the website. There's a page there that you
Right.
can sign up on.
Okay.
You can
Good.
fill up the form there on the website and put your information in and let us know that you want to be a part of this. You're interested in working along with us, and for certainly we are building the whole structure and the whole framework of this, and it is expanding not only in the GTA, it is going across Canada, and we want everyone to come on board. Believers, we are calling you pastors, preachers, teachers, apostles, prophets, evangelists, wherever you are, the believers. We want you
Right.
to come alongside with us. And as I said, not only from our community, but we have allies in all the culture. And we have an event coming up on the 18th of April where we're going to have a COVID-19 memorial service for everybody, and we have
Right.
a variety of different speakers and presenters will be on it from all different culture. So we want everybody to join in with us on that also.
Uh, now that CBCA's final launch, um, apart from that event that you just mentioned, what are some of the things that they're working at?
Yes, as I said earlier on, we are pushing those initiatives that we mentioned before. That we're working with all those initiatives,
Right.
but we have two events coming up, which is the one that I just mentioned, and we also will be having a remembrance service around the May the 23rd. That May the 25th was last year's incident with George Floyd, and
Right.
we want to also bring a remembrance service around that on the 23rd of May. Information will be on the website, but we also want everyone to get engaged and get involved in that, because when we know that over the course of last year there have been many voices marching,
Yes.
protesting, and discussions about the whole issue of anti-Black racism. We do not want this to die. We
Yeah.
want this. We want us to stay alive. So people must realize and recognize that we're going to hold society responsible. That the changes that has been proposed, even by the government, that we're holding
Right.
them responsible and accountable to ensure that these changes are made, so we can see the tangible changes in society for the betterment of everybody, but for the betterment of our people, because our house is the one that has been burning on fire for a
Right.
long time. and we need to help make sure that the fire is out from our houses.
Yeah. Well, Bishop Jones, it's been a pleasure having you here, and Let's Talk. Thank you for the information you've shared. And I just pray God's blessing on you and the initiatives that you're working on. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Bishop. It was a pleasure being here with you. Thanks again for the opportunity. And God bless
Pleasure
you on your program
God
also.
bless.
Let's Talk.
Thank
God
you.
bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that's all the time that we have for Let's Talk. We'd like to remind you again that you can find us on YouTube. And I'd like to ask that when you go to the YouTube channel that you'll subscribe, you will like the program if you like it. You'll also share with us some comments. We'd love to hear from you. You can also find us on our website, letstalkca.org. You can also find us on our administrative website, which is cogop.ca. You can find us on Facebook as well. And like I said, would love to hear from you. So please let us hear your thoughts as to how you've been enjoying the show. And would like to remind you to keep praying for us. You have heard Bishop Jones share with us from the Canadian Black Clergies and Allies, and there's some upcoming events. Would like for you to join us. We're trying to do our part in making sure that we address systemic anti-Black racism among us and racism in different communities, not only the Black community. I think as a church and as ministers and Christians, we're called to address inequality and injustices wherever we see it. The Bible talks about a God who is a God of justice. And so as Christians, we're called to address those things. So I'd like for you to join us, partner with us, and help us to fight this good fight. I want to thank you again for joining us. God bless you. Let's keep talking, and we'll see you next time. God bless.
On the Let's Talk television program, we share solutions to real-life problems with real people, showing how faith guides everyone through the storms of life. We talk about tough issues that affect all generations. Our conversations help you learn, grow, and lead. Help us continue with this great work by partnering with us today. Call 905-625-1278, extension 233, or visit letstalkca.org. We look forward to your partnership with us to change lives. Let's Talk, revealing the heart of Christ through engaging media conversations.
Sometimes you walk through life alone, wondering if anyone understands what you are going through, hoping someone will listen and offer a word to make your day. The Church of God of Prophecy offers unconditional love and support, regardless of what you are going through. Visit cogop.ca for a location near you. The Church of God of Prophecy, developing authentic disciples of Christ.